This week's show is brought to you by Pretty Easy Podcasts, helping podcasters get their shows off the ground, up and running, and sounding great. Professional podcast production at extremely affordable rates. Do yourself a favor if you're thinking about doing a podcast, but you don't really have a whole lot of time to manage the editing, the posting of the show, and making it sound as good as possible. Go to prettyeasypodcast.com because they'll help you do it at a great rate, and it doesn't matter what your show's about. It could be a sports show, a food show, business. It could be a show about extremely rare birds. Doesn't matter. Go to prettyeasypodcast.com and they'll help you get your show off the ground, up and running, and sounding great today. Whatever your passion is, Pretty Easy Podcast is ready to help you enjoy it even more. Everybody has a podcast these days, right? Get in on the fun and go to prettyeasypodcast.com today, or just email them to get started at prettyeasypodcasts@gmail.com. Pretty Easy Podcast, making podcasting, pretty easy.
I watched Jim Zorn play for the Seahawks, an expansion franchise. I was totally captivated with his style of play. He was innovative. He was creative. He did all those things as a player that we want to do as a league.
We're going to be doing something brand new that nobody has seen before.
Brand new team, brand new league.
You know, the game's going to be football, which I'm also excited about.
When I first started here, the fans were just really enjoying the game.
I used to play all of my games in Air Force One basketball shoes.
The fan here is pretty sophisticated. They know the game.
Playing man coverage with a hard inside technique.
Each team will be given an opportunity to establish some traditions and some meaning. An offense, a defense, certain personalities. That's what I'm looking forward to as well. I want these guys to go out and feel like they are really expressing their talent. That's really the job of the coach. It's not to conform them to me. I don't want them to have my, wait a minute, you don't hold the ball like me, you can't play. Quarterbacks create differently. Then they have to develop. When they get here, they have to be able to want it and get it and commit to it.
This is the future. This is not the past.
The new XFL will kick off in 2020. If you smell what the XFL is cooking. It's still football, but it's professional football reimagined.
This is our moment, our story to tell. This is history begun.
This is the XFL!
Welcome, football fans. This is the week of March 3rd, 2019. This is the road to 2020, and this is the XFL show. I'm Alan.
I'm Jake.
I'm Vince.
And I'm Bryant.
This week, every league wishes it was called the XFL. The XFL at the NFL Combine, and Jim Zorn gets announced as the head coach general manager of XFL Seattle. This is episode 58, Zorn to be wild. Now, guys, we've known it. It's finally official. Jim Zorn is the new head coach of XFL Seattle, general manager as well. I think all that's left for us to do to start this show to celebrate that is for Jake, Vince, Bryant. Can you give us 3 cheers for Jim Zorn as the new XFL head coach in Seattle?
Hip, hip.
Hooray.
3 cheers. Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray!
Jim Zorn, baby! Zorn to be
No one
wild.
had the enthusiasm like he did in that man.
And it's wholesome, too.
And you can't fake that kind of enthusiasm, yeah, for sure.
So we're going to talk about the press conference, recap it a little bit. Also, we have the next head coach press conference announced for next Tuesday with Tampa Bay getting their head man in charge. And also today, we will examine some news that came out about bonuses for future XFL players, potential bonuses, and also more clarity on the tiers of player pay. Very interesting stuff coming out on that end from the NFL Combine this week. 724-5654-XFL is the number to call if you ever want to leave us a voicemail or ask a question. And it's open 24/7, 365. And we get calls all the time. We get tweets at XFL Show on Instagram, Facebook as well. And last week, we talked a whole lot of Jim Zorn in preparation for the press conference. We talked a lot about the Pep Hamilton press conference, recapping it. We looked ahead to Your Call Football, and we also went into some of the news that Oliver Luck broke about extra points and stuff. So last week's show was very fun. We got some reaction. A lot of people were saying, don't twist what they were saying about the extra points. It's not completely clear. Calling it a 9-point touchdown, Jake, isn't necessarily the right thing to do. And there's some argument over whether or not there will be kicking involved in extra points in the XFL or not. I think some people think that 1 points are going to be actually done from the 2-yard line without a kicker. I don't remember that being explicitly stated yet, at least by Oliver Luck, but that might be right. But a lot of reaction to that in particular from last week's show, Jake. What are your thoughts on some of the backlash and feedback we got?
I think some of the backlash was what I was saying. To me, this sounded like a gimmick. I know you and Bryant were,
people agreeing with you.
You were opposing that to me, and that's perfectly fine to have that opinion. But I think, they're going to keep the foot in football, and it's not going to be a gimmick. It's going to be the extra point that we all know and that we all love.
I think, Jake, the important question that our listeners really want to know is, are you going to push to pay kickers less if they're not kicking on the extra point?
Well, we're not sure about that.
That's the thing.
That's the way to answer that question.
Well, the thing is, I think we'll know they'll get less in the XFL. Are they making I still don't know if these kickers are making the same as everyone else in the AAF. It's baffling.
Although there is with no kickoffs in that league and a relatively low percentage of touchdowns scored, the kickers are whatever money they're making, I feel like they're getting their money's worth.
Also, after last week's show, we got people asking us about the hires and speculating about the future quarterbacks to be hired and the coaches, and there's so many coaching announcements coming in the month of March. I think we're going to keep it, just everything in front of us. I don't want to look too far ahead, and I don't want to go too crazy on the speculation part of stuff here, guys. But we have a lot to talk about when it comes to Tampa coming up. But before we get into our cover two, Vince, you weren't on last week's show, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Were you missing?
You were the one that was on it, not me.
Yeah, I was there. I don't remember you there. So, yeah, give us your thoughts. I know you listened to it back at least on everything we talked about, anything in particular.
That was the episode you talked about Pep Hamilton. Is that correct?
Yeah, we had a lot of pep in our step last week. We talked about the extra points from Oliver Luck and his radio interview in D.C. in particular.
Yeah, I'll speak a little bit about Pep here. I think this guy, a mixed bag of results in his coaching career, but this guy, he's got a lot of enthusiasm. I'll say that, and that's why I'm excited to see him coach in the XFL.
But you need more than enthusiasm to coach, right? I mean, tell me you see more in him than just enthusiasm, and that's why.
Well, that's not. No, he's had some success as an offensive coordinator. I think and that's the kind of mind I think you need in this kind of league that's going to reimagine the game. That's all about quality of the play. That's what I'm talking about. And I think Pep Hamilton, with his enthusiasm and his creativity, is going to be able to bring that to the XFL. I really do.
Yeah, the thing is, we have a few head coaching press conferences under our belts, more to come, and we could start comparing and contrasting them, which is really fun, and we'll get to do that some when we talk about Zorn here, but also something that might be a topic on a future Patreon episode, right, Brian? Because we have our poll out for what the next bonus episode is going to be.
That's right, Alan. If you head over to our Patreon right now, that is patreon.com/this is the XFL show. You can catch in all the bonus content that we put out. We put out our bonus episode for the month of February where we decided the 8 team names for all 8 cities. Jake didn't really take it too seriously, but we all the rest of us did. Also, you can vote on our March bonus episode right now, where we are going to talk what you choose, and that is one of these 4 topics. It's either the 8 QBs that we think are going to be playing for the XFL. We're going to rank all 8 head coaches that the XFL decides to hire, or we can rank the 8 cities. We still haven't done that from best to worst, what we think are the better ones versus what we think are the worst ones and why. Or we could take a deep dive into the life and the bio of Oliver Luck. So go ahead and check it out. Lots of bonus content, a lot of AAF content. Don't forget about This Is Not the XFL Show, where we talk all things football. So go over there right now, patreon.com/This Is the XFL Show.
Had a lot of fun doing that bonus show, the first one, and Jake maybe didn't take that seriously, but I know he's taken his blog. He told me he's got a really long form blog coming up. Look out for Jake's grading of all the angle routes run by running backs at the NFL Combine, as well as his critique of the 3-cone drill for the defensive linemen. It's going to be good.
That sounds like more of a Vince article. And listen, I took that seriously. At least I didn't vote for the Sasquatches.
Great name. It's the best.
We'll catch all that on our Patreon. Patreon.com/.
Jim Zorn, head coach of your Seattle Sasquatches. The Patreon's awesome. Thank you to all the gentle patrons who are contributing. Shout out this week to Jocelyn and Russ. Appreciate you being active there.
What's going on, football fans? This is Bryant, and we just want to let you know, with the XFL returning in 2020, This Is the XFL Show is here to guide you every step of the way. Sign up right now to receive the latest news, exclusive content, discounts on merchandise, and all the football coverage you can handle on This Is the XFL Show's newsletter. Yes, go to our website, thisisthexflshow.com, check it out, sign up, and you can even win a free t-shirt. Check it out right now. Don't miss a thing from This Is the XFL Show.
All right, without further ado, guys, we have some news, some speculation, and some fun to be had talking about these XFL head coaches. It's time for the cover 2.
Going for 2. Go for 2 and the lead.
First part, Jim Zorn had his press conference this week, and let's go into one quick highlight from that press conference. One thing I found that really encapsulated why Jim Zorn took the job with the XFL.
So this is an opportunity as well for a younger coach and maybe an older coach like myself to jump into a league that is going to be very competitive with experienced coaches. And then some of these younger coaches that don't have quite the experience yet get on board and be taught by these older guys on the staff, and then develop these young players and give them another opportunity.
The competition in the XFL is pretty enticing if you're a guy like Jim Zorn, if you're a guy like Bob Stoops. Now that you're seeing the guys that are going to be running the other teams in the league, you size them up. If you're Jim Zorn, if you're Bob Stoops or Pep Hamilton, you see, all right, this is going to be fun. It's going to be a challenge. These guys know what they're doing. The league's going to be competitive. The league being a competitive league, of course, with quality football, is paramount, and it obviously is to these coaches who are signing on to join as well. And I thought that really summed up nicely why any of these coaches might be taking these gigs more than putting the staffs together, they say, or getting to teach guys stuff so they can maybe get to the next level or become better football players. It's the competition, the thrill of beating someone out there on the football field and being the head of a team. Jim Zorn was out front about that. So I give that a hip, hip, hooray for the press conference. And overall, I might say it was probably the most entertaining. There was some issues I had with it. I know Bryant's about to speak his mind on it, guys, but let's go around here and get each other's thoughts on how the press conference went and what you took from it. We'll start with Bryant, who's been very vocal since it ended, really, earlier this week.
I wouldn't. I mean, don't say that much. I critique it in the sense that he didn't look like he was as prepared as Pep or as Stoops. Right?
Yeah, he came up there from the heart. I think
a little freely.
Maybe
not
he's just not that great of a public speaker.
Yeah, I mean, that might be true. But he does have a little bit of a goofiness to him, and I think we kind of all expected that. We realized that.
He went up there like he played quarterback, you know? He kind of just was all over the place a little bit, and he was looking to make plays, looking to make some highlights.
He was reading the press room as like a defense, saying that he should,
I know
about head injuries.
Yeah, I know, Brian. Really, why you were sort of down on the Zorn presser compared to the other two is your complete Los Angeles XFL bias against the Seattle team, which I respect.
Well, I mean, we don't even know if we're going to be in the same division. What if it's North and South and not East and West? We don't know that at this point. No, look, he brings something to the league that they are striving for, and that's excellent quarterback play. He has proven that time and time again that he can make somebody a good quarterback, and that's what the league needs. So I understand the hire. I get it. Maybe needs to work on the press conference skills a little bit, but there's some fine-tuning with everybody. And so, it's a good hire. The press conference, maybe a 6 out of 10. But his enthusiasm was there, right? Vince, I'm sure you love that.
I suppose he was kind of babbling on a little bit much for me. But you always hear about winning the press conference. I don't think he did that, but in the grand scheme of things, that doesn't really matter too much. He's a name coach. For better or for worse, people know who he is. And I like what you touched on, Bryant, about how he's a quarterback developer, and that's very important to the quality of the play, which is so critical.
It's the quality of the play
to this league succeeding. So I think he can certainly contribute in that aspect, and we'll see how he does. I don't know if he's a great head coach or a great general manager. That remains to be seen, but I think he can certainly do something with quarterbacks in this league.
Yeah, the interesting part of this is Zorn is the GM as well, which he doesn't really have any experience, assembling a team.
Well, not many do.
In that way, yeah, that's true. But I feel like Bob Stoops,
not really. Stoops certainly does, but not a Pep Hamilton. I would say.
Yeah, Pep and Zorn in that regard they lack the experience. Zorn also had the much talked about stint with Washington as the head coach and the man in charge there, and how that all ended. That's a whole issue we'll talk about in a second. But let's go to Jake real quick. Jake, Jim Zorn, he's a guy I think after your heart. He doesn't like technology. He likes flip phones.
He likes technology.
He likes saying things like "hip hip hooray."
Doesn't use Venmo.
Yeah, he's not really into
checks.
Not really into formal attire. What are your thoughts on Jim Zorn's press conference?
I mean, it's going to be his job to motivate the young men, that he puts together as a team. I know we were talking a little bit off air earlier about, did he take this serious? He didn't come off as confident or as prepared as Coach Stoops or Pep. I mean, I was almost waiting for him to pull out one of those Gary Busey acronyms or whatever, something
Teamwork.
like that.
Together, everyone achieves more. I'd love that.
I mean, I forget if Bryant or Vince said this, but people are going to recognize him. They're going to say, I remember that face from somewhere, whether it was, with a football helmet on or just standing on the sidelines with the Redskins. I'm sure we're going to get into this. I mean, not a 12-20, I believe, record with Washington. But, I mean, look at some of the head coaches in the NFL. You don't have to be great, to land this job. You don't have to be a Steve Spurrier or a Bob Stoops to, get a head coaching job. And, going back to this almost young versus old mentality that he brought up, I mean, Pep Hamilton, I think he's his mid-40s. So, it's not like they're hiring any McVays or any early 30-year-olds right now, at least.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm taking so far. 3 people hired, and all 3 of them have some kind of tie or connection to the city that they're coaching in, which Oliver Luck at first did say, like, that's not going to be a major thing that we're looking towards in terms of signing these coaches. It's not like a prerequisite, but I guess it just so happened to turn out that way, Vince, that all three guys have ties to where they're coaching. Pep is from D.C., Stoops recruited a ton in Dallas, and Zorn is a legend in Seattle.
Yeah, but what's interesting to me, and maybe this is just, the way they're booking this, is that, you got three coaches from just all different walks of life. You got Bob Stoops, one of the best college coaches of all time. You got Pep Hamilton, a college offensive coordinator. And then you got Jim Zorn, who was a failure as an NFL head coach, but then bounced around everywhere as a professional offensive coordinator, quarterback coach. I mean, they're keeping people guessing.
Yeah, that's the variety, right? The variety's there.
Yeah.
The different backgrounds, which makes the competition exciting for guys like Jim Zorn, which is really cool. The 12-20 record, though, with Washington. So Stoops and Pep come into the XFL not really having any, negative marks on their career in terms of record or jobs they did. Pep's Michigan stint wasn't great, but it's not like a black eye. It's not like something that, hovers over his head and says, oh my God, how could they hire that guy? He was terrible at Michigan. Zorn's 12-20 record, even though they started off pretty well, it just deteriorated. He lost the locker room allegedly. It was 2008, which I could argue was a completely different time in the NFL. And with the kind of coach Jim Zorn is, I feel like if he was a head coach today, even in that league, and now he's in the XFL where it's going to be similar with probably spread offense, focus on quarterback play, probably would have done better with Washington if he was hired in 2018 versus 2008.
I don't know. And I'll say this, the record doesn't bother me. Number one, I mean, who has won in Washington as of late? You got a wild man owner who thinks he knows everything.
Wild man or just a really dumb guy? It's just a guy who doesn't know a thing about owning a team.
I mean,
he doesn't hold a dumb card of NFL owners right now, by the way, just putting that out there.
I mean, so, even a guy like Steve Spurrier, I believe, was in the same situation at one point. Even he didn't do too well in that same sort of spot there. So, I don't really hold it against him. I mean, that's his only – it's a small sample size as a head coach from Mr. Zorn, unfortunately. That's really all he's got there. All of his other experience is elsewhere. But, if you're sizing him up against, these other gentlemen, he's the only one with professional head coaching experience.
Yeah. That's true. He is the only former NFL head coach joining the XFL as one of the leaders of these 8 teams. You had Clinton Portis last week, a former player for Jim Zorn, was at the D.C. press conference for Pep Hamilton. The conspiracy theory, Brian, is that he was there wearing camouflage, maybe trying to get a job on Pep's staff, maybe just so he could go out there and beat Jim Zorn, because a lot of Jim Zorn's players do not like him from that tenure in Washington.
He's wearing camouflage?
Yeah, Clinton Portis
is wearing camouflage.
On last week's show, Vince, just real quick recap. Yeah, Clinton Portis was wearing all camo last week. Not like a camo jacket, but he was wearing all camo at the press conference there cheering Pep on. So
were they fatigues or?
Yes. Or not like no. It was like a t-shirt. It was like fashionable
starter
camo.
gear.
I think it worked at the gym.
But a lot of that's the one thing I worry about is that Zorn lost that locker room in Washington, but that's just a very special circumstance. I don't hold it against him, Bryant. I feel like it's 2019. It's a new league that is going to be very much geared towards what Jim Zorn has been successful at as a coach, and that's teaching quarterbacks and getting the most out of quarterbacks and being offensive-minded and thinking outside the box offensively. I think this is a great situation for him. He's wise to take the opportunity, and nobody should worry about the 12-20 record and think that's a bad rap on Zorn when it comes to the XFL job.
Well, yeah, that's 12 more wins than both coaches combined that they've announced so far, right? So
in the
you're
NFL,
right.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you think about it, and you kind of, I think, Vince, you brought this up just a few minutes ago, but all the different aspects of all these coaches, Jim Zorn has his niche, right? He's a quarterbacks guy. He's an offense guy. He wants to move the ball with the quarterback more than anyone else. All these different coaches give you different ways to coach, obviously, and then the XFL doesn't know what the right way is, right? They're not going to know what the best way for their league is, especially with all the new rules coming into play and all that. So to stick your guns with one type of coach doesn't make any sense. So you find somebody who, like a Jim Zorn, who can teach your quarterbacks and say, okay, Seattle, you're going to be our coach with the quarterback guy, right? So you guys hopefully can figure something out over there. And if that works, then they know further down the line what else will work for the league going forward. And to your point about these guys having ties to their cities, I think they're choosing these coaches and then realizing that they can put them in certain areas that makes sense, right? They're not going to hire Jim Zorn when they don't have a Seattle coach and put him in Tampa, right? They're going to put him in Seattle where it makes sense. So I think the hire came before the city.
Do you think they were offered? We didn't hear. I assume they were offered the city and the job in the market. Or do you think with Stoops, maybe because he was such a big hire, Vince, they said, all right, Bob, which city you want to coach in? We need you.
Well,
take your pick.
That may have been the case, to be honest. I still cannot believe Bob Stoops is going to coach in this league. I'm just flabbergasted.
It's huge. It's amazing.
I'm shocked. This exceeded all my expectations and then some. And I'm sure coaching in Dallas was a pivotal reason for getting him on board. If it was if he had the coach in New York City, I don't think you would see Bob Stoops in this league. I think that's kind of sweetened the pot, but I don't think that they chose cities just to lure certain coaches. I don't believe that at all.
No,
I don't think so. You wouldn't really see Bob Stoops walking around on the streets of Soho. You don't.
Streets of Soho.
No.
How would Bob Stoops do with that New York City market? The media down there, up there, it would be so tense for him, right?
If he won, they would forget about all their preconceived notions.
Don't sleep on the pressures of coaching in Norman. He had cameras and microphones in his face and questions all the time.
No, it's not that. It's just a different, a different kind of yelling at you.
Much more positive vibes in Norman. All right, so that brings us to the second portion of this week's Cover 2.
He can't make it. Let's go kick it.
And let's go kick it down in Tampa Bay, guys, because that is where the next XFL head coach, general manager, will be announced. There will be a press conference this coming Tuesday. Timeout. All right, you're about to go into a pretty fun part of the show. It gets pretty funny. It gets speculative, kind of outrageous. Tampa Bay coach obviously did not know it Friday night as of the podcast recording. So we speculated, we guessed, we talked about the possibilities, knowing that it wouldn't be Jim Leavitt in Tampa Bay. And, well, of course, Saturday afternoonish, it's revealed by the Tampa Bay Times that Marc Trestman is going to be the Tampa Bay head coach. So before we send you off into this silly portion of the show, now that we know who the guy is going to be, let's real quick run down who Marc Trestman is, who I'm proud to say I did bring up. You're about to hear me bring his name up very briefly as part of a possibility. But Marc Trestman, 63 years old. He is a guy who's been in football since the early 80s, pretty much nonstop, and has had a lot of success in terms of being an offensive coordinator, and he is kind of a CFL stalwart, 63-year-old quarterbacks coach often, an offensive coordinator often, and now our second coach in the XFL with NFL head coaching experience. He was the Bears head coach in 2013 to 2014. His CFL resume is really what stands out, though. Marc Trestman just left the Toronto Argonauts, where he did win a Grey Cup not too long ago. He won back-to-back Grey Cups when he was the Montreal Alouettes head coach, and he just stepped down from that team after last season, and now he's in the XFL. He's got his start in terms of ties with Florida. He was Bernie Kosar's quarterback coach in the early 80s, and now he's the head coach in Tampa Bay. And the press conference is going to be at 11 a.m. on Tuesday, and it'll be our fourth XFL head coach general manager press conference. And I'm serious, when we say he's been all over and he's been in football, this guy's been the offensive coordinator in Cleveland, San Francisco, Arizona, Oakland, Baltimore. He had a stint at NC State as well in college football. Marc Trestman is a football lifer, a guy with a ton of knowledge, a guy who's definitely going to compete against the other XFL head coach general managers. He's going to really enjoy this, I think. He's the kind of guy who is perfect for this role, in my opinion. But once again, Tampa Bay Times reported after we recorded the podcast, 63-year-old Marc Trestman is going to be announced the Tampa Bay XFL head coach general manager. Now we'll send you off into this really fun guessing game we played, and then we'll dive deep into a really, really awesome hot read. So back to the show. And the news is, well, not news, but it is 99% confirmed from some reporters down in Tampa. And, you know, if you go on, Twitter or anywhere on the internet right now, it's all but confirmed that Jim Leavitt will not be the head coach of XFL Tampa, something that we've rooted for, really thought was possible. I have to say I'm shocked, Vince. The former USF Bulls head coach, the former coordinator at Colorado and Oregon, is not going to be in charge of XFL Tampa Bay. Are you as shocked as I am?
Well, I'll say this. Just because he's not getting this job doesn't mean he's not getting another job in the XFL. I still think that's very possible.
Well, I don't know. I don't know, because according to our man Greg Allman from The Athletic, who covers Tampa Bay sports for them, he tweeted out that Leavitt is not going to get the XFL job in Tampa, and then that is the only job he wanted in the XFL. So I don't know if we're going to see Jim Leavitt in one of the other cities. It could happen. We've got five left.
Where else is he going to coach? Is he going to take a year off?
A guy.
We're just talking about in general. Coach.
A guy like Jim Leavitt. He could take a year off and get a job somewhere pretty good, right? Maybe he's got the experience. He's well known. He's well connected.
That's interesting with the timing of this. If you're accepting a job, you're essentially accepting a job for 1.5 years at this point. Because your tenure with the XFL for the first year wouldn't be up until the summer. You're not going to join a college staff at that point in time, I wouldn't think. An NFL staff, I suppose you could. I don't know. I think he still has to be involved in the XFL. I'm not going to believe it.
Vince, let me ask you this. Do you think possibly, and I'll open this up to everybody actually, do you think possibly his idea was to join the XFL, but maybe the terms just didn't work out? Because the XFL is looking for commitment. They're not wanting someone who's going to coach here for a year and then leave to the NFL or the NCAA for a better job or a better opportunity. So do you think maybe just terms? I'm just speculating here, but it seemed fitting that, Leavitt left Oregon about the same thing that Pep Hamilton did, right? And everyone was expecting him to sign with the XFL. Now it's being reported that he's not. Do you think just maybe something kind of got hashed out that they couldn't hash it all out? There was something in the terms or something like that?
I don't know, Bryant. You've been following the Pac-12, at least the Pac-12 North much closer than I have been to say, why he specifically left. I'm not sure. I suppose, things could have fallen through and they couldn't come to an agreement. But
you think he wanted more creative control, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know how much more you can get for a head coach.
Maybe there's a better candidate. Maybe there's someone that Oliver Luck and Doug Whaley in the XFL have in mind that's better suited for the job. Who knows? That's the exciting thing. We're shocked here. It's not Jim Leavitt. I think all of us are. But now we have to look towards Tuesday, and now we need to give full disclosure, because who knows when you're listening to this, gentle patron or gentle podcast subscriber, but it might have already, come out by a report, through the camp of whatever coach is going to be the Tampa Bay head coach already. You know who it is. But as of now, as of this recording, it's Friday night, late, and we still don't know the head coach of XFL Tampa, but we do know there's a press conference. And for the first time since these press conferences started happening, the coaching announcement tour that Oliver Luck is going on, for the first time, a press conference was announced before the information of who that coach probably is came out. So now we've got a lot of speculation and a lot of fun to have. We have a genuine mystery going into Tuesday now. Jake, we have a real-life mystery on our hands because before the show even started, you said, I need help here. I have no idea who to guess. You said that. And there are some candidates, but Jim Levitt was really – this job felt tailor-made for him.
Yeah, and I still don't know who it's going to be, and I hope we don't. Let's keep on under wraps this long. Let's make it a genuine, surprise, a real pop. Now, Vince, you and Alan have been in this stadium. Is it possible to hold this press conference on the pirate ship?
Yeah, it is. Believe it or not.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, weather permitting, I would think that's what you've got to do, right?
I mean that pirate ship is synonymous with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know if you want to.
It's going to be synonymous with the XFL team in Tampa Bay.
I guess maybe it depends on what the team name is. If it's the Gasparillas, then yeah, it's going to be on that pirate ship. I hope they keep it a surprise. I hope we don't find out beforehand, and I still fully expect for it to be Jim Levitt. I don't care what these reports say. That's who I'm picking.
Whoever it is, hopefully they keep him on that bus until the very last second.
You mean in that limo until
that limo? Okay.
You see the footsteps right before it starts. Alan, let me ask you this: do you think there's any concern that the XFL is holding back this information? It's not leaked out. Like, is it someone that maybe no one will really recognize?
You think it's a bad omen, perhaps?
Well, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Is it a bad omen that maybe they're not letting us know because maybe it's not such a big hire? Maybe it's not the best they could have done, or I don't know. I'm just speculating, but do you think that could be a possibility?
Well, I don't think we're going to get any names more recognizable than Bob Stoops nationally. So nothing's going to be as big as Bob Stoops. I'm going to go out on that limb. I hope I'm wrong. That'd be cool. And yeah, maybe this name's not going to be as well known, possibly. But I think if the XFL had their way, all three of the announcements so far would have been shrouded in mystery, going right up until Oliver Luck introduced the person. So I don't think this information, if it comes out before Tuesday on who it is, will come out from the XFL. I think it's going to come out probably from someone the coach themselves tells, and then the media will report on it. Am I worried that it's going to be some lesser known? No, because that's the exciting thing, is that you're going to have well-respected, tenured coaches. You're going to have new blood. Maybe this will be one of those young guys, maybe in this vein of Sean McVay, like we've talked about, Jake. But it's going to be fascinating to see Tampa Bay candidates. I mean, we ran through coaching candidates a whiles back, and I might even say Jim Levitt might have been my number one overall coaching candidate, Vince. So to see who this person is, to guess who it is really just you're taking a shot at the dark. So let's do that right now. Vince, you're up first. One wild guess. It can't be Jim Levitt.
Well, I still think it's going to be Jim Levitt. I don't know who else to guess. I still don't believe.
Well, it doesn't have to have a Tampa Bay tie. I think people are wanting, a Tampa Bay tie, but it doesn't have to. It's hard to speculate and hard to understand who else is out there. I mean, we've.
All right, I still think it could be a hype man like Joey Porter could still be getting a job as an XFL head coach. So if it's not going to be Jim Levitt, it might as well be him.
If it's Joey Porter, it's definitely happening on that pirate ship, and he's going to fire the cannons. I mean, if you want a wild choice that's not going to happen, I'll just say Tony Dungy for the Tampa Bay tie. But he's not leaving in that cushioning cushy, heated and air conditioned studio for NBC.
Well, the good thing is I keep copious show notes every time. So let's go all the way back to episode 49. And
is there a way that our listeners could listen to those
yes.
old episodes?
Old episodes are right there in the archive. All you have to do is subscribe to This is the XFL Show on any podcast app of your choice. Episode 49 all the way to episode 1 right there for you. Episode 49, we talked about coaching candidates, and we said who should be considered, and these are names that we brought up. Joe Lombardi, Saints quarterback coach, not Joey Porter, Bobby Petrino, Bruce Arians. He's coaching in Tampa. We kind of half got that right. The Ryan brothers, Mike McCarthy, who apparently just was screaming or beat up a referee or something at a basketball game. You got Scott Milanovic, the interim Jaguars offensive coordinator, first ever XFL draft pick. Marc Trestman, journeyman coach, former Bears head coach and Toronto Argonauts head coach in the CFL, and a few other names. But those are guys who haven't been hired yet. You think any one of them are the guy in Tampa?
Nobody you brought up really kind of, really piques my interest. I think somebody I mentioned before too was Jim Moore Jr., but I doubt he's coming. It's so hard. I mean, we also heard Jim Haslett on this very show, right, from our friend Benjamin Albright, but it seems like he's destined for St. Louis. This one's tough. I mean, you don't want to speculate and say the wrong name.
Hey, I said Tony Dungy, so Brian, say whatever you want to, brother.
I think he's more in line for the Houston job, Jim Haslett.
How come?
It's close to New Orleans.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
a lot of
coached in St. Louis.
A lot of people from the boot have relocated to Houston.
It's not a far drive. Got a lot of Astros fans, at least in Louisiana. I know that, but Jim Haslett.
Is that true?
Oh yeah, they're all over, especially when they're winning. Jim Haslett is the Tampa coach, though. We've heard his name thrown out there a lot. You don't think he's gonna? You think he's really if he is an XFL coach, it'll be St. Louis, Brian?
Well, in a market that is Tampa, which is, I don't want to give a sneak peek into a possible poll winner, but might be your weakest market of all 8. Do you go with a bigger named head coach in Jim Haslett to kind of pique interest a little bit more than any other market? Maybe you do it there, and that's how you do it. Jim Haslett to me seems fit.
Is he a big name?
He's a recognizable
name. When was the last time he coached?
That's not the point.
Game?
The point is The point is
it's not about
can people recognize him?
Yeah, it's not about if it's a big name for this hire this Tuesday. I think it's about if it's a respected name or someone that people will not tilt their head and say, "What the hell is that?" Like if this is a high school coach, I know there are very well respected, innovative high school coaches out there, and they're always being scouted to be joining college and NFL staffs, of course. But for the XFL to hire one of those type of coaches, at least with hire number with 4, I don't know if we're going in a particular order. This is that moment.
I don't know. I disagree.
So if it's a complete no name, you think it's all right. Coach number 4, we're still trying to gain attention here. I think this needs to be someone people recognize.
I think it depends on the area. If it's in Houston or Tampa and it's a well-known high school coach, I think it could do very well. Maybe even LA to a lesser degree. But, some of the other markets, like if it were Seattle or St. Louis, no way.
I highly doubt it's going to be a high school coach in Tampa. I'm going to bet money against that.
I mean, we were talking about Haslett to St. Louis. This is all just contingent if Dick Vermeil said no.
And Isaac Bruce.
We were told as many episodes ago that you can do everything you can just to try to make him say no.
I have a feeling a TV guy is going to get one of the head coach GM jobs.
A TV guy.
Yeah.
I mean, along the lines of like
John Lynch to San Francisco.
He's not a former player still.
Yeah, but guys who went into the booth and then got jobs through that. We're seeing that happen often. John Gruden, obviously goes back to the Raiders. But I think there's going to be one TV guy, like we said, from all walks, from all different backgrounds and experiences. I think you're going to see one coach from TV. So maybe think in that way right here if we're guessing for the Let me go on record and say I don't like this now. I don't like having to completely guess in the dark who's going to be announced on Tuesday. I wish we had the info on who it might be so we could dive into their background a little bit. But are there any TV people out there maybe that might in like the same vein as like Mike Mayock getting the job in Oakland, Vince, that you could think of?
I don't know. I mean,
Greg Cosell, he's way too embedded with ESPN and
you probably
scouting.
would have said up until a couple of days ago, you probably would have said Jason Witten would have been looking for a new job, and then he did. It just happens he's going to be a player, not a coach.
Yeah, he was just looking for any way to get out of embarrassing himself on commentary every week. Brian, TV guy, if I could guide you in that direction, can you think of anybody? Not Tony Romo.
Kurt Warner? What's he doing? Does he want to? I mean, he would actually probably go to St. Louis if anyone.
If he's going to coach in this league, there's only one place that he's going.
Yeah, I don't think Kurt Warner wants to be the coach on the same field he lost a big time Super Bowl on.
TV. This is so hard. I mean, a couple episodes ago, we had to all scratch our heads, try to come up with a couple names, and now we're trying to do this for Tampa, and we got still 4 more cities after this too.
Which Barber brother was involved with the AAF broadcast?
Tiki.
That was
okay.
Isn't the other one still playing?
No. Rondé Barber would be a great hire. Rondé
Maybe
would
like
be
at
great
the YMCA, but
in terms of recognition, and Rondé in Tampa would be money. You could maybe it's definitely. I know it's not Warren Sapp. That's for sure. It's not going to be Warren Sapp.
What about Warwick Dunn? Maybe.
See this
I
now.
don't think he has any coaching experience. Maybe he does, but I don't.
Might be that high school football coach you're talking about. Then.
I just can't think of a coach that kind of fits the mold of somebody who's been coaching for a long time and needs that chance just to be a head coach to show that they can do what they need to do. And that's kind of what Pep was. Is there another one that fits that mold?
I'm telling you right now.
See, I'm mad because I really was going to come strong with this is going to be Wes Welker take, and then he got hired to another NFL staff this week. So
Wes Welker?
He's been coaching since he retired, and he's a young guy.
He's retired?
Yes. He's retired.
No wonder I lost my fantasy draft this year.
Brian thinks Wes Welker's still playing, and
that's why I picked the Tampa defense. I thought Rondé was still back there.
And you thought Rondé's still playing. What's wrong? Did you hit your head? All right.
Well, I mean, I already picked the TV guy and Tony Dungy.
Jake did. Jake is the only one who came prepared. This is a swerve. I think we're all sad that it's not Jim Levitt. We'll say that. Well, if you
what
have
about Brad Childress? Oh, we didn't talk about him. He left the AAF.
Would be hilarious if it was
Brad
Childress.
He hasn't gone anywhere, right?
Yeah, he hasn't. He's been silent since he left.
It's Brad Childress and Michael Vick is his offensive coordinator. Would be tremendous if that happened. Let us know if you have any suggestions, either on social media at XFL Show on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or call in 724-5654-XFL. Leave us a voicemail. We'll know who the coach is on our next episode, but we'll see your guesses. You can put them on the record and see if you're right. Real quick before we move on, do you want it to get out who the coach is before Oliver Luck announces it at the press conference?
No.
I think that's me neither. I don't, but I think that's pretty much impossible in this day and age, right?
I really just hope that whoever it is just in a big box with a big black sheet over it, and they just reveal it they pull off the sheet.
It was me.
It was me.
Unfortunately, in today's day and age, you really got to go out of your way to swerve people if you're gonna surprise them.
Be so cool on the big pirate ship there at Raymond James Stadium. Shoot some cannons, drop a big curtain, and reveal who it is. It'll be great.
I would say to keep this as much of a surprise as possible, then just do it via satellite. So that way you don't even know. No family's there. The coach isn't there. You just do everything via satellite. So that way it's all a secret. Until
just a phone interview.
Yeah, Darren Rovell will probably leak it out, I'm sure, but by the time anyone's listening to this. But
in a positive way.
Yeah, let's go. Let's move on. That is this week's cover 2. What's up, football freaks? Taking a break here to tell you who's bringing you this week's XFL talk. Another great sponsor. They're called the Pick Pod, and it is a weekly basketball podcast available on all podcast apps, brought to you by ballandroll.com. Why is the Pick Pod special if you're a basketball fan? Well, not only do they talk about the latest trends going on in the NBA, but also the Pick Pod breaks down analytics, statistics, and for all you gamblers out there, it is a great show because they do talk NBA betting each and every single week. The Pick Pod drops on Tuesdays. You can subscribe to it right now on any podcast app. The Pick Pod is brought to you by ballandroll.com, and it is also a Pretty Easy Podcast production. Pretty Easy Podcasts, helping podcasters create, spread their message, have some fun, and get the job done as easy as possible. Go to Pretty Easy Podcasts to start your own podcast today. And now we get into the meaty portion of this week's show where Darren Rovell was able to have a conversation apparently with Doug Whaley of the XFL and get a lot of information on XFL contracts for players that will be coming in as rookies that might want to maybe think about skipping the NFL draft this year. It is time for the hot read.
Blue 58! Blue 58! Go!
Hey, Ric Flair! Ric Flair!
Pepper, Clip, Caliber. Motown, Happy, Jolly, Drop, Buster, Boomer, Tiger! I think he's got a hound too, Rodney, I think. B-19! B-19 is fucking! Hey, Seattle! Lion! Orange 83! Omaha!
XFL officials are in Indianapolis this week during the NFL Combine festivities. And with everyone in town there, agents and general managers from NFL teams and young rookies looking to just live their NFL dream, their pro football dream. The XFL's there where all the action is, and they're giving presentations. Presentations were given actually Thursday night. Doug Whaley was a part of it, and they spoke to NFL agents, guys, where they basically outlined a plan that the XFL has to give bonuses to NFL rookies who might want to think about not being NFL rookies and being XFL rookies. And we're talking about not Kyler Murray or anything here, but we're talking about fringe players, late round guys, or undrafted, recognizable NFL or professional football prospects, I guess we would call them now. This is significant, guys. This is the XFL really, I think, swinging to lure some guys to come and play in the XFL where they're going to actually get reps versus just trying to make an NFL squad and then trying to get playing time after that. Great strategy. Do you think it'll work, Vince?
I think you're going to get into it a little bit here, Alan, but it depends a lot on, how much you're offering versus how much an NFL undrafted player would get in a camp and not make the team. I think that's kind of what it comes down to.
Exactly.
That kind of risk.
Exactly.
I don't think it only comes down to that. Sorry, continue. But
head of money. I think it comes down to the money as well, Vincent, and I think Oliver Luck, head of football ops, Doug Whaley, these guys know what they're doing. So the plan here is to offer potentially six-figure bonuses to come and join the XFL instead of going into the NFL draft, instead of joining an NFL team as an undrafted rookie free agent. And according to Darren Rovell, who spoke to Doug Whaley, they're going to target these types of players, And instead of these players maybe taking a $5,000 to $10,000 contract with the NFL as an undrafted rookie free agent and maybe making a team, they're going to have an opportunity at making six figures. Six figures. It's a lot more, Bryant. How could it not come down to that, to a young player who's not only looking to go pro, they're looking to actually play, and they're looking to actually make money? That is a much better opportunity saying, okay, XFL it is, than that tough route of just trying to make an NFL roster as a 7th, 6th, or undrafted rookie free agent.
Alan, half of the players in the league today are undrafted free agents. Half. So you're going to tie yourself down to a 3-year, $100,000 per year contract versus trying to make an NFL roster where you can make millions. That's the difference, right?
Well, but then tie yourself down, not necessarily, because Doug Whaley also revealed that outs can be negotiated. The XFL is not going to just let players jump to the NFL, especially mid-season, to go start training with an NFL team, and they're going to be in contracts, but out clauses can be negotiated. That's why they had these presentations with these agents this week. They said, we're going to offer your clients potentially 6-figure bonuses to come join our league. Plus, they'll make whatever they make, whatever tier they fall into in terms of their salary. And when we go to the table, you're going to be able to try to negotiate an out clause to let them go to the NFL if we could work something out in that regard. So they're not handcuffing these players totally if they make the choice to go to the XFL instead, Brian.
Okay, fine, but they are risking, injury. They're risking a lot of stuff just to go to the XFL. And if they're only going for the money, I mean, to me, it's about the playing time. Do you want to develop your craft? Do you feel like you can develop your craft with repetition or with coaching in the NFL? That's the question, right? And maybe if you're a borderline player and you say, ooh, do I want to go here? Do I want to go there? That's your determining factor. But the XFL also is not going to just offer anybody these 6-figure salaries unless they feel like they're worth it. And we're also talking about the slotting that we're going to get into, right? These tiers. Some of these players are not going to make that much money. So do you go for the $10,000, the safe bet in the NFL, or do you go for the $25,000, $30,000, whatever it is that they're going to offer you at tier 4 at the XFL because you get playing time? What is the benefit, or what's the better choice of the two?
It's not a clear cut and dry decision, but I think the fact that it's money up front, it's playing time, and there's an opportunity to get that out clause to go to the NFL. This is, I think, a dream come true if you're talking about opportunities for young players. If you're an agent of football players, having this as an option is just tremendous. Great business in terms of the agent's end and great opportunity for the player, and I think very wise by the XFL. Yeah. I love this.
Yeah, I mean, this is, something, if you're a player that, may or may not get drafted in the NFL and your back's up against the wall to make a team, and if you don't make a team, then that means you're going to be either pumping gas or stocking shelves. You got to really consider this kind of opportunity here. This is your livelihood. And the more options that you have, the better. And, if you're looking at maybe some guaranteed money to sign with an XFL team, you got to really consider that.
Yeah, I mean, let's be clear here. This is not going to be another USFL case where they're going to be, luring away guaranteed first rounders and they're going to bankrupt themselves. Okay, but if you're the XFL, and if these allegedly 6-figure deals are going to be out there, you really cannot make a better offer to try to lure someone away from, an NFL practice squad or something. And it's going to come down to each individual, to what they think is more important.
And also, is your opportunity now, right? If you're on the fringe 6th, 7th rounder, is your opportunity now? Or are you going to wait until the major cuts happen, in September or August, September? Like, do you jump now or risk being in a bigger pool later where you start cutting veterans and things like that.
There's no right answer, but the XFL appears to be putting the best deal in place. Again, make them say no.
And the thing that's interesting here is that, the XFL is going to have to figure out if they're worth it. And Doug Whaley didn't mention any specific players. Obviously, it's a smart thing. But off the top of your head, Vince, are there any kind of like late round guys or fringe guys or anybody that would be worth a six-figure bonus that you could think of coming into the NFL this year from college football that the XFL might give this kind of offer to?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I mean, there's tons of guys, good ball players that, aren't, are very borderline of getting drafted. You got to look at guys at the quarterback position. Certain guys that, were maybe exciting in college and, aren't quite NFL players. We talked a lot about that in past episodes that, aren't quite pro-style guys, but maybe the XFL was their kind of game.
Are you thinking guys like, if you're thinking quarterback, and I know that I have no idea where they're projected to go, but I doubt like a guy like Nick Fitzgerald, SEC quarterback, would be someone who would be drafted into the NFL in a decent round, but is a well-experienced and well-known guy from SEC play. He's nationally known as a pretty decent quarterback.
Yeah, a guy like if you're a Nick Fitzgerald, yeah, I mean you're
Jordan Ta'amu, SEC quarterbacks.
You might get drafted, as a later round pick. Yeah, you could be, but you're certainly you're almost guaranteed to be in a camp. I will say that you're guaranteed to get an invite to a camp, but you're far from guaranteed to actually make an NFL roster. But if you're looking at the XFL, I think you got a damn good chance to do that.
Yeah, so you're talking about guys who are well-known and SEC players, maybe like a guy like Elijah Holyfield, who is the son of Evander Holyfield, is probably going to be a late-round pick in the NFL draft, if at all. Are those the kind of guys you think they're thinking about that would be offered this six-figure bonus?
That's the thing. I mean, they're going to have these tiers that we've heard about, and there's only going to be a limited amount of tiered players, first-tier players. There's going to be a limited amount of those kind of guys that are going to be given out per team. It's going to be very interesting to see how those players are distributed. Is it going to certainly be a quarterback most of the time for a tier 1 player? If you're talking about a tier 2 player, I mean, is that always going to be, is that a skill position player? Is that a lineman? I'll give you an example. A player like a Darren Hall, a good running back out of University of Pittsburgh. This guy has rushed for over 1,000 yards in his career, did not get invited to the NFL Combine, which would kind of clue into maybe, he's a 5th, a 6th, a 7th round draft pick, and certainly not guaranteed even to be that. Is that a player that is, enticing enough to offer this kind of bonus to as an XFL franchise? I'm not quite sure. I mean, I don't know how you distribute those kind of offers.
Well, it's going to be interesting when the first offer goes, right? Because when the first offer goes, that's when everybody's going to be like, crap, do I need to make my decision now before they run out of offers, before they run out of slots? So whoever makes that first jump, and I don't think it's going to be your tier 1 or even tier 2 players that are going to get these offers. I'm thinking it's going to be the lower tiers. But as soon as the first one signs, then it's going to be chaos, because I have a feeling more players are going to want to sign with the worry that there's just not going to be enough room for all of them come 2020.
I think these bonuses are going to go all over, and the thing about the bonuses, unlike the tiers, they're not slotted or restricted. I think they can give as much, for as much money as the XFL has or wants to give out. They can do that with these bonuses. The salaries are what are going to be restricted to the allotment each team has in terms of the tier structure we're going to get into. But the bonuses could go all over. And you know, you bring up good points about players like Darren Hall, Vince. You got also quarterbacks like Brett Rippon. I don't know if he's going to be at the Combine, if he's an invite for Saturday afternoon. We'll see. But the Boise State quarterback tore it up, but maybe doesn't have all the the measurables that maybe NFL teams are looking for. Might be a kind of guy you see like that in terms of quarterbacks. I have a feeling these bonuses will mostly go to quarterbacks, Bryant. But when you say lower tiers, I think it's only going as low as tier 3 to maybe just make sure you get guys into the system. Tier 4 players, I think they're going to be a lot less. There's less of them because now we know how many players go into each tier. And let's get into that now, because this is the most interesting thing that came out of the Action Network's report from what Doug Whaley divulged to Darren Rovell. So we've known about the tier structure for a while. There's 4 tiers in the XFL, and players are going to get paid accordingly based on what tier they land into. And tier 1, there's going to be 1 slot per team for a top tier player, and we've heard that is a $250,000 to $300,000 a year player. But now we've heard that quarterbacks could get up to about $600,000, maybe more. The XFL
went that high.
The XFL is willing to negotiate and pay quarterbacks a little bit more depending on who they are. So there's only going to be one of those people on each team, and that's most likely going to be a quarterback. Your tier 2 players, you'll have 3 of them on each team. And tier 2, we've been told, is going to be between $150,000 and $175,000 a year. Tier 3 players, there will be 23 tier 3 players, which is the majority of players on these teams. 23 slots per team, 45 players on each team. 23 of them will be tier 3 players making between $50,000 and $100,000 a year. Although that pay structure might have changed, because now we hear there's a 4th tier, and there's going to be 18 4-tier players, and the pay for them, at least I don't have here, because we've been talking 3 tiers for a while. But there's the allotment. You've got 45 slots to fill, and you can pay in a player only so much. You can only have 1 tier 1 player, only 3 tier 2 players, only 23 tier 3 players, and 18 tier 4 players. Vince, there's the allotment. What are your thoughts?
And we talked about it on past episodes about how those tier 1 players are going to be comparable to what practice squad players, and maybe even a little bit more than what a practice squad player would be making in the NFL. We talked about how if you're a quarterback there, you could either be the 3rd guy in the NFL or you could be the man in the XFL. And then you got those tier 2 players who are going to be borderline practice squad NFL type salaries, and then you got everybody else. So if you're in everybody else, I mean, I guess you don't have much of a choice. But if you're one of the top tiers, you are going to have a choice on where you want to go: NFL, XFL, and it'll be very interesting. Do you just ride the pine, or do you try to really make a name for yourself?
The possibilities of free agency or like inter camp, competitions. Maybe can a tier 4 player say, "I want to challenge a tier 3 player for a spot in their tier 3"? And
Oklahoma drill,
yes, or something like that. No, but think about it. This is going to make free agency so much interesting, right? Because he could be a tier 4 player, but do you take that chance and offer him a tier 3 contract so you can get him on your team? I love this tier system, and this is your salary cap, right, Alan? This is your structure. This is where you're going to be like, okay, this is the money you have to spend. This is what you got to fill. So go and do it. And Vince, you bring up the practice squad players. Practice squad players are only guaranteed, I believe it's 3 weeks. If you're signed for 1 week, you're guaranteed 3 weeks. Do you take that risk, or do you take a full season's worth of money in the XFL?
That's another good point. I didn't even think about that. There's always guys being moved around on practice squads and, waivers and things of that nature. And another thing that we didn't talk about with those bonuses that I'd like to bring up is something that people don't always think about, because it's not always information's not always available to us common people. But taxes is XFL players going to be paying Connecticut taxes all the time, regardless of what city they're playing in? I mean, is that who they answer to? Is
doubt it?
I think it's
I don't know. I'm asking.
No. I mean, yeah. So I'll tell you, it's the city. It's not even the city you play for. It's the game that you play in. So
really,
So if you're an LA person, if you're playing a game in Seattle, you're paying Washington state taxes for that game. You're not even paying your California taxes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So your game checks are taxed based on where you played that game.
Okay, well, that could affect some people's decisions.
That's why these agents need to do their due diligence, and they have all the information now from the XFL. So this is great. This is great for the players and the agents. I think so many decisions for them to make. But as we're talking about these tier structures now, we know how many players each general manager gets to fill, how much they get to pay those players. Do you guys just... Jake, are you just picturing like Jim Zorn with an old school Texas Instruments? Just okay, I got 23.
I think he's got a nice Excel table there.
Yeah,
Excel D4 times.
A lot of tier talk here. Yeah, you're only going to have so many. So many players in each one of these tiers. It's really going to be a jigsaw puzzle, and you better hope that your tier 1 and 2s really have a great return on investment.
That's going to be really cool to watch too. That's what I'm probably most excited for, Brian. Is you're always saying you guys don't realize there are so many undrafted players killing it in the NFL. So when we watch these XFL games, we're going to see the results of them, right, and the statistics, and you're going to know just the exact tier that these players fall into and who's effective and who isn't. And we could really grade, the general managers in that regard. You could grade these coaches on how well they allotted their pay and their tier structure to all their players because they fit into these nice 4 categories.
Well, yeah, and the other thing, too, is who categorizes the players. Is it the teams themselves? Is it the league? If a team says, yeah, you're a tier 4, so we'll leave you there for now, and someone else tells you you're a tier 3, there's so many different exciting things that can happen. And you're right, like I said, half of the players in the NFL are undrafted free agents. There's so many opportunities for the XFL to gain great talent, and this is just another way that the XFL is planning to lure players, not just take scraps, not just take the pickings, not the low-hanging fruit, but they're going for the stuff at the top, and they're trying to get as best of rosters as they can.
Yeah, and one thing we didn't mention here, but we got to wrap up, is that this is kind of a power to the players type deal the XFL is providing as the I'm not even going to say alternative league, and I'm definitely not going to say feeder league for the NFL, but for a league for professional footballs to go and actually play in and get better and get paid. What a better opportunity this is, and what a better option it is financially compared to what the AAF's giving you, Vince. That also stands out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that AAF. I know we don't talk about it too much on this program. We talk about it on our other program. This is not the XFL show. Yeah. That has screamed to me, very minor league. And my expectations for the XFL is exactly what Vince McMahon said, and that's going to reimagine the game. It's going to be something different. It's a different kind of product, and it's going to up to the players on what they want to be a part of.
You've got everything out there in terms of the information. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of opportunity. I mean, of course, this is business, but for the players to be screwed with or underpaid. They're going to be able to negotiate these deals beforehand, and they're going to know, the route they need to take if their ultimate goal is to get to the NFL. If you're going to the XFL to one day in hope get to the NFL, there's work for you to do, and there's also money for you to make, which is good as well. So you don't necessarily have to get to the NFL. That's the great thing about this, is that you're going to be in the XFL as a player, and you're going to be playing, and you shouldn't have to, and you won't, I don't think, be thinking, damn it, I can't wait to get out of this league and make it to the NFL. You're going to hopefully be having fun and getting paid enough for the work you put into that league. And the XFL's trying their best, at least, to give that opportunity to the players with their presentation that we heard about at the Combine this week. And that's this week's show. A lot of structure there, Jake. Were you really excited that it's so compartmentalized and we were very orderly this week? I know you're a big fan.
I do like that, a lot of structure, but I still hope it's completely up in the air for is it Tuesday when the Tampa coach gets announced?
Yes,
Tuesday the Tampa coach gets announced. We recorded this super late on a Friday night, so for our general patrons listening early on Saturday, and in that tier. Maybe they don't know who the Tampa Bay coach is. If you're listening to this on the regular podcast feed and it's Sunday or Monday, you might already know. It's already come out maybe who the Tampa coach is. And I just want to say, I told you it was going to be Brad Johnson the whole time. I knew it.
Alan, if I can say one more thing about the tier system. If you're a fan and you love the tier system that the XFL is doing, you're going to love the tier system over on our Patreon. Check it out. Patreon.com/This Is the XFL Show. Don't forget. Tons of tiers there. You could be on this show. Don't forget, guys. I think the XFL took it from us, right? Tiers, maybe?
Yeah, and we're not going to limit how many are in the tier either.
I'm shedding so many tears. That was such a perfect segue. Way to go, Brian. Let's end it on that. Thanks to everybody for listening. Thanks to our gentle patrons. Remember, at XFL Show on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And, of course, the number to call, 724-565-4XFL. Anytime. Give us your thoughts on who the coaches will be. Let us know what you're voting for in our Patreon polls or any of our other polls or any other topic you want to broach. Call in, be heard. We love playing back the voicemails on the air. Before we get out of here, though, real quick, Vince, want to change your mind? Do you really believe it's still Jim Leavitt?
Yeah, I do.
Vince is a perfect example of someone who doesn't believe what he reads always. But in this case, I think you should. All right, for Jake, for Vince, for Brian, I'm Alan. This is the XFL Show. Tell him, Vince.
Remember, they're listening.